do look like the world's most interesting man.
I feel like a better version of myself, you know?
At least a more seasoned version of yourself.
More seasoned, yes? Like I know anything I say is going to be taken like very seriously. I could like mean mug anything just by looking its direction. I don't even have to try anymore.
You have to give it blue steel. Blue steel.
This beard's not sticking on very well though.
That's okay. It's looking good. It's looking good. It's looking good. Sometimes my beard doesn't stick to my face very well.
The tape doesn't work for you too.
Yeah, it's always I'm always having to feel like I have to kind of keep it in check here a little bit, because at times I do look like I've just come out from underneath the bridge downtown.
You're guarding and charging people money to walk over the bridge. That's
right. Sometimes it does not seem like it would be that difficult of an existence. I do have some. I'm kind of envious of their life in a way.
Envious of their life, like Socrates almost, like they're living like the Socrates life.
They do. Where they're out there just kind of in their own mind and get to kind of do and say what they want to do and say, and they're not really held to the timelines that we're kind of held to on a normal basis. So at times I do feel a little envy on that part. I do recognize from a certain perspective that their life may seem very, very difficult. However, they do get to meet lots of people on a daily basis, and they do get to kind of gauge the generosity of humanity, and they can then kind of formulate their own opinions on whether we see people on the street just asking for a little bit of love, and if they have that withheld from them, then they can kind of say, I see how people are. But I'm sure there are certain days where people are very generous, and they do make
And other days they're not, where they're just like, go take a shower.
Yeah.
Hang on, can you guys see my muscles on camera? Can you see how big and bulging they are?
All right, let me see. Can we get these? Sure, I'll just see here like this. Like, okay, we got to pump those muscles up a little bit.
I'm single, ladies, by the way, just letting you know. So you're more envious of maybe the freedom that entails.
Yes, precisely. So I do imagine that it's very challenging to be out in the elements like that. But at my core, I do feel like some of our freedoms have been taken away, at least externally, and to see that they kind of live a little bit more footloose and fancy free, at least in their own minds. That I do feel a little envious of that at times. So not everything, but. It's. I probably shouldn't be envious of anybody in those situations. But I'm grateful for their lessons that they kind of teach me on a daily basis. Say, wow, thank you for being there. Show me that I can choose to kind of construct my life in a way that would allow me to be a little bit more free.
Yeah. Wow. Wise words from Dan, everyone. This
is crazy. I love doing this.
Attention, all Dans. Welcome to Eye-Opening Discussions. And if you just had your eyes opened, then that's part of the program. That's what we do as Dans. So, fellow Dans of the world, welcome our fearless leader, Dan Langley.
Hello. It's great to be here.
And I'm Dan Dangley, and I keep that thing dangly, okay?
He's dangerous.
Dangerous.
With those gigantic guns of his right there.
Dang, I need a license for these. Holy cow. How do you walk around with these things? Gosh.
I use lots of baby oil.
Baby oil? Okay, yeah. I'm getting friction over here. And
friction burns. You got to wear some spandex to kind of lube that up a little bit to keep the thing flowing.
Yeah, heck yeah. If you guys don't know, Dr. Langley adopted a Liger at one point. Freaking crazy. Tell us about that. What
I did. Well, I wore my last time we spoke. You had said that we were going to end off on Langley the Liger, and then we truncated that episode rather abruptly. But I figured that I'd dress for the occasion now, so I got my Langley the Liger shirt on, and so I had the unique experience of doing cataract surgery on a Liger. And so
a Liger.
Yeah.
What is a Liger? What's the difference between a Liger and a Liger?
Sure. Well, really, the difference between a tiger and a lion is the mane.
The mane?
No. That's I totally messed that up.
I would have totally believed you.
No. So the difference between a Liger and a Liger is that a Liger is basically a male lion that's crossed between a female tiger. And then that's what creates a Liger. And if you have a male tiger and a female lion, then that's a Tigon.
Tygon. Okay,
Yeah.
wow, that sounds.
And so if you then take a Liger and made it back to a tiger, then you get a Liger.
Okay.
And so these are all kind of hybrid big cats that usually would not occur in the wild simply because they're in two completely different geographic areas.
Yeah.
Tigers are more in the Asia, and lions are more in Africa, or I guess only in Africa.
So when they make them together, they always look kind of derpy to me. You know what I mean? They look like cute and huggable.
Yes, that is true. And so usually when they are mated together, they can have a bunch of genetic anomalies or a bunch of genetic defects. And so at least physically, Langley the Liger, at first they called him Gimpy. His name was Gimpy.
Gimpy. That's awesome.
A very thoughtful name, of course, at that. And the reason why they called him Gimpy is because his front legs had kind of a valgus deformity. So his knees were kind of turned out, and so he kind of walked like this.
Yeah,
and so he did kind of walk with a gimp.
Yeah.
And so being the people that named him were intellectual titans, they decided to call him Gimpy. And so one of the first things that we decided to do when I adopted him is just say, we'll just kind of change that name. And so we just decided to call him Langley because it had a little bit of an alliteration, or Langley the Liger. And so
that sounds cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that. And so, but some of the other anatomic anomalies that he had is he had congenital cataracts as well.
Let's back up. How do you even get in touch with this? Because I've never even seen a Liger. But you're over here doing surgery on one.
Actually, there's a great place in Broken Arrow called Safari Sanctuary, run by a wonderful woman named Lori, and so she has many exotic animals that have kind of been abandoned, and so she's taken on her passion of taking care of these animals. And one of our surgery counselors' mothers was a volunteer at the Safari Sanctuary. And so when they had first acquired Gimpy, or Langley, he was actually the tiger cub during the show The Lion or the Tiger King. He knew he was on his way to prison, so he needed to drop this tiger cub off at the Safari Sanctuary. And so when they received him, they recognized that he just wasn't quite feeding right. He just wasn't making his way around, or wasn't quite aware of his surroundings as much as the other cubs that they had. And so they felt like he had some cataracts. So they brought him into a local veterinarian, and the veterinarian had said, yes, he has cataracts, and it's going to be maybe $4,000 per eye to have those cataracts removed. And so they operate kind of through donations, and so they don't have a big budget to kind of take care of the animals with major surgeries. And so one of the staff members there had thought, well, Dr. Langley does cataract surgery, or I do cataract surgery, so they thought they'd ask me if I would do it. And I said, wow, yeah, I'd be happy to do the cataract surgery on that, yeah. And it turned out that my mentor and my program director, Dr. Mark Abel, had done probably hundreds of thousands of cataract surgeries, and actually in 2001 had done cataract surgery on a white Siberian tiger. So this was kind of like right up my alley. It's Dr. Abel was awesome. I thought he flew around helicopters, and he was just a rock star in the cataract world. And so when this opportunity came along my radar, I said, "Wow, I would love to kind of do that."
Yeah, that sounds badass. Yeah. He sounds like a badass.
He was. He recently passed away a couple years ago, but yeah, he was. I owe my whole career to Dr. Abel. He took a chance at me, and I wouldn't be where I am without him. And so he had a passion and a verve for life, and really just kind of took the bull by the horns, and really kind of inspired me to be the type of physician that I am today. So, but when we had decided that we were going to do the surgery, I kind of spoke to a couple of veterinarians across the country. There's a Dr. Damari in Nebraska who would kind of give me some pointers on how to do the surgery properly, because tigers' eyes are different than humans. Are much larger, and so the lens within the tiger's eye is much thicker, and when they're younger, it's much harder or much dense. one of the local veterinarians in Glenpool, Dr. Karina Tressler, was gracious enough to ask if I could kind of partner with her to do this procedure. So she volunteered her time, her staff, the facility. And so I highly recommend anybody in the Glenpool area that Dr. Tressler is a wonderful veterinarian. And so you'd be lucky to have her as your veterinarian.
Shout out Dr. Tressler. You are amazing. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that's right.
Dan approved.
Yeah, that's right. So that was such a remarkable experience as well. Not only to see how Safari Sanctuary ran their organization, but that is a labor of love there. They had hundreds of exotic animals that were there, and all sorts of big cats that they had adopted. I think even they had a lion that was one of Mike Tyson, the boxer. I guess I don't have to even say the boxer.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson's old lions that they had there.
Yeah.
Although he did have these anatomic abnormalities, he was just a wonderful animal, and not even that, just a wonderful being. And so I never really saw him be aggressive in any way. So Lori actually had him as a kind of like a house cat, and so she kept him in the house all the time, and he slept in the bed with her. He's just a wonderful, wonderful animal. So once we had the experience of removing his cataracts, we then kind of allowed him to heal, but he healed very, very quickly. And so we bring over to our house, and we'd see that he could definitely now see more than he could see before.
You had him in your house just walking around?
Yeah.
Just totally chill around your kids and stuff?
Well, yeah, my son and actually Brooke's daughter Handy would play with him all the time, and so she would joke that she got as he would kind of try to chase after her, he kind of scratched the back of her leg, and so she developed just a little scar there. So now she just kind of brags about that. At least when she was younger, she said, "Oh, I got attacked by a tiger," and so
I mean, she did. Yeah, she did.
so her classmates and her teachers would say, "Well, is that true?" It's like, "No, that's true." So we'd bring her over to the house, and we'd kind of have him on a leash, and we'd kind of have him run around on a yard just to get him some exercise. I mean, he's still having some trouble with his gait there, so we thought, let's just kind of teach him how to swim in the pool. So we brought him into my pool, and with some swimming noodles, and I taught him to kind of swim out into the pool and go back there. So it was great. So we not only got to do cataract surgery on a tiger, but we also got to teach him how to swim in the swimming pool. We'd go to Safari Sanctuary, and we'd pick up Langley in the pickup truck. We had a Raptor pickup truck, so we'd kind of put him in the back, and my son would sit up front. And so at this time, he's like getting closer to 175 pounds or whatnot. But so he didn't want to sit in the back; he wanted to sit in the front. So so he'd always try to crawl to try to get up in the front seat. And so it's just like you let kind of tigers do what they want to do. So.
All animals want to do that too. They want to get up where you're driving, want to get up in the front seat, see what the heck's going on, and then. But a Liger, that's not like, how are you even pushing him back?
It's challenging. It's challenging because at that time he's about the same. He's at the same weight as I was, but and so it was a little bit of a wrestling match to kind of just get him to kind of stay back in the back seat. And so he did use the headrest as a little chew toy for a moment, because I put him in the back, and just for the 5 seconds it would take me to walk around the side, he'd already kind of demolished the headrest.
I mean, what are the cops going to do? Pull you over and say, "Sir, get out of your car"?
Well, they had some calls to the sheriff's station and said, "Hey, there's a guy on the freeway transporting a tiger," and so they called the sanctuary to make sure that we weren't trying to steal the tiger or anything like that. So it was an interesting experience as far as that was concerned. So
that's like a concern that happens. People trying to steal tigers.
No, I don't think so. But that was just kind of the story that we got from the sheriff's department. Is they just had called the sanctuary and said, "Hey, we saw a guy driving a tiger around, and was that one of your tigers?" And they said, "Yeah, they're just taking him for some physical therapy." Yeah. And so it was a great experience in so many other ways as well. It really kind of allowed me to see how wonderful people can be. And Lori and her whole team over there are just phenomenal individuals that were, out of the kindness of their own heart, were just kind of taking care of all these abandoned animals.
That's interesting that it gave you kind of a new perspective on the kindness of other people, because that is a lot of selfless acts right there. I mean, each of those eyes would have originally cost $4,000. Yeah. Here you are investing your time into an animal that it can't really thank you. It's just like, but it is thankful. I mean, you changed that animal's life, and that's a big deal. So is that not something you normally see, like all that level of kindness in the medical field, or no?
Well, I would say that from that interchange, the whole experience gave me so much more for my own personal development than I donated in both time and or resources there. Between 2006 and 2017, I traveled to Peru each summer to do medical mission work, and so I do surgery down there.
Oh, whoa.
And so from that standpoint, I was used to kind of donating my time. The experience was different with Langley.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was just because he couldn't really thank me verbally, but just the affection that he could then kind of express through his own way was really touching. And that animal itself, he was very, very unique. And I think because of his genetic inbreeding, he was just a different type of animal. And so sometimes we think that that just because someone may have an external appearance of misfortune or a Down syndrome or something of that nature, that somehow those individuals are less significant in life, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Is that I found that the level of caring and kindness that this animal exuded was something that was truly remarkable that I hadn't seen in any other type of animal before.
Wow.
So like I said, from that experience, it kind of gave me a different perspective about just animals in general, and that to kind of look beyond the facade of them being just kind of a creature, and to look that I do see that they do have souls now, and it's kind of a weird kind of thing to discuss. Yeah. Sometimes in other transcendental states, whether it be a holotropic breath work or some other type of ceremony, you kind of look beyond that veil and can see into someone's soul. And so in those episodes, we could really see that Langley was truly something special. I think that was here to kind of touch the hearts of many people, and much more. And he was completely different from the other animals at the sanctuary. And so it was a very unique experience from that standpoint.
I love that. Now, a quick word with our sponsor, Mesh.
Yeah, so this episode is sponsored by Mesh. Mesh House of Living. Expand your mind. Go ahead and go to the Apple Store and simply just search Mesh for a free download and try it out for a week and see if you like it. This application will change your life.
You won't regret it.
You won't regret it.
Oh, this is Dan approved. If your name is Dan.
It's two Dan approved.
Two Dans, both Dans. That was a magical time with Dan, our fearless leader. Now, wait for our next episode where we're totally going to blow your mind and dive deeper into the esoteric knowledge of Dan Langley. And maybe me.
We'll be lucky if we have both Dans on here.
Both Dans.
So we'll definitely dive deep into eye-opening discussions.
We'll see you then. Subscribe and like the video.
Yeah, always smash the like button. Here, everywhere. Smash the like button right here. Do it right here. Smash the like button.
Or I'm going to come in your house and hit it for you. All right. That was a great episode. We're good.
That was good, okay.
We can totally use all that. Diego will make it funny.
I like it.
All right.